you're not having a bad day, you're just focused on what is bad. Or you're not in a bad job, you're just focused on what's bad in the job. That I wouldn't apologize for making a mistake. I didn't want to say I'm sorry. What's going on, Becomers? Welcome. In today's video, we're going to be doing part 2 of the mentality that keeps people stuck in, but except this mentality does not keep you stuck. This, in fact, does the complete opposite. It frees you. What this mentality is it's called the victim mentality. Now, just like the victim mentality, I'm sure you've heard victim and victor mentality before, but I guarantee, again, that you haven't heard what victor actually means. And where the word victor comes from is the word vincere. And what vincere means is to conquer or to overcome. And I love these words, to conquer, to overcome. And you think to overcome or to conquer what? Well, to overcome and to conquer the victim mentality that you had. And that's how you become the victor of life. Now, the acronym that we're going to go through today is PREP, PREP. So you're going to get prepared to become the victor of your own life. Pretty cool, right? So the first P stands for problem solving. Not just problem solving. Okay, just so we get that clear. Problem solving. The first part of this is that you become the person who actively seeks solutions. Actively. What does the word actively mean? The word actively means always. What does the word always mean? Always, all ways. You find all the ways to seek solutions. So a lot of people, they'll have a problem or a challenge that they're going through, but they're not looking to actively seek solutions. They're not looking to actively solve it. You talk to a lot of people, they have a problem or a challenge, and you say, okay, so what have you done? You have this big problem in front of you. What have you done to try and to address it, to try and overcome it, to conquer it? And they say, well, I've done this, and I've done this, and I've done this. And you say, okay, oh, so you've done 4 things. And they go, yeah, I guess, yeah. So you've done 4 things out of an infinite number of things that you can do to try and address this problem. This big problem that's stopping you, that's keeping you stuck. You've tried 4 things. Okay, well, that's great to know. Let's try 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's talk when you've tried 20, 30, 40, 50 things. And then maybe we'll readdress something. So we actively seek solutions. And so not only do you just try this and that, but you try multiple times. So there's this story about the person who invented the light bulb, who is, Edison, was it? Who was it? I can't remember the guy's name, but there's this story that he tried 999,000 times before he got it right, before the idea came to life and what he envisioned actually worked. And so it worked on the 10,000th time. But when he was asked about this, it's like, why didn't you stop after like 1,000 times, 5,000 times? And we were just talking before, most people stop after they've tried 4 things. Imagine trying 999,000 times before you try the 10,000th time and it works. Imagine that. And when he was asked about trying 10,000 times, he said, I didn't fail 999,000 times. I got one step closer 999,000 times. And it's such a great mindset to have. It's part of this victor, vincere, conquer mentality. It's like you're not failing. You're getting closer. Okay, so that's the first part of this. The second part of this is actively seek solutions. The second part of this is and take steps to improve your circumstance. So a lot of people, they'll have a challenge or a problem. And I don't like to say the word problem, but in this case, let's just say it. They have a problem and they will seek this solution and they maybe will problem solve it. They maybe will solve this problem, but then they won't take further steps to improve this circumstance. So when you take steps to improve the circumstance, that means you're getting out of this problem that could occur and you're going into another set of circumstances, which challenges are still going to come up, but it's a different set of challenges, right? But if you just solve a problem, then you just keep doing what you're doing, and then you're just solving the same thing over and over again. Well, it's not going to be much fun, is it? You're not going to learn much. So the challenge here is that with the victim mentality, is actively seeking solutions and taking steps to improve your circumstance that you're in. And so I just want to finish on one more thing here with the problem solving, is that the problem is not your problem. Not seeking a solution is always the real problem. Just want to finish on that. The second letter is the R letter, and that stands for responsibility. Now, I like to think of responsibility as responding with your abilities. The more that you take ownership and you take responsibility for either actions that you have taken, you take responsibility for, and even actions that you don't take, you take responsibility for, like it's all coming back to you and you take responsibility for that, the more that you can start responding to your abilities. Because the more things that you be responsible for, you can start to learn different things about yourself. And when you start learning different things about yourself, you start learning more of what you're capable of, what your abilities are. And when you learn more of what your abilities are, then you can start responding and helping people more and helping yourself. And so if we compare it with the victim mentality is very responsive. So it's like, this thing happened to me, and oh man, this thing happened to me, it sucks. Stuff that person, or stuff this that happened. But the victim mentality is something that happens, and it's like, okay, even if it wasn't your responsibility, it's like you're going to take responsibility for it. For example, when I started going out with my partner, when I would make a mistake or like say something that wasn't quite right, or it hurt her feelings, which I did a little bit in the beginning because I was unsure of whether I was to fall in love or not. And the one thing I wouldn't do was and she made me very aware of this, is that I wouldn't apologize for making a mistake. I didn't want to say I'm sorry. Like, those words did not exist in my vocabulary in my life. The people who you can have an impact on, the interactions that you have each day, you have responsibility for that interaction. Something that you didn't do quite well that you know you could have done better, take responsibility for it. Something that you didn't do at all that you know you should have done, take responsibility for it. Take responsibility, take ownership for everything that's going on in your life, and it'll flip your life around. It'll bring the power back to you, and you can start living in that power. Okay, speaking of power, the third letter, the E, is empowering questions. So when you have this victim mentality, I've spoken a bit about being at the rock bottom before, but when you're in this hole that a lot of people find themselves in, and when you're down in the depths of this hole, you're at your rock bottom, the last thing you want to do is ask an empowering question. Because what questions do most people ask? They say, oh, if only my life was better. Oh, if only this was different. If only this was different. If only she said this. If only he said that. If only I didn't meet that person. If only this person wasn't in my life. The list goes on and on, right? But no, there's this poem in my book. You might have heard this before me talk about it, but when you start asking these empowering questions, when I was at my all-time low, my rock bottom, when I had absolutely nothing going for me, I was lost, had no purpose, no meaning in my life, no direction. I even had these life-ending thoughts creeping me for the first time. I asked myself an empowering question. I said, the first question was not empowering. I said, how did my life go from that, being this great kid, to this? Well, then the question came, well, if I can go from that to this, then surely I can go from this to that. And then that was the first empowering question. The second empowering question that I asked myself at this rock bottom and this situation that I was in was, and that you can ask yourself, is how can this be the greatest thing that happens to me? That kind of question, it just changes everything. It changes how you see all the crap that you thought was bringing you down, all the people, everything around you that was bringing you into this hole. It changes everything. It's like, God, how can this be the greatest story that happens to me? Like, one day I can tell my kids, I can not only tell myself, but I can live out this story if I start asking these empowering questions, as having the victim mentality, as being the vincier, the one to conquer, to overcome. I was speaking with a man who's, I think, in his late 30s, and I asked him, what do you want out of this? Like, what's your main goal? And he said, I just want to not feel stuck. Is that an empowering question? I just want to not feel stuck. Absolutely not. Just is not an empowering word, just as like you're playing small. I just want to not, I just want to not, anything but this is like, okay, no, that's still not empowering. I just want to not feel stuck. Not an empowering word to use. Okay, I think you get it. All right, the fourth letter, the P, is, as a victor, to have the victor mentality, you have to have a positive perspective. So there's actually, as the victor, there's no such thing as a negative situation. There's no such thing as a problem. I've said it in my previous videos. There's no such thing as problems. There's just challenges. There's no such thing as a negative situation. There's just learning situations. And so from every interaction that you have, you can extract wisdom. You can extract a teaching. I know there's this amazing quote. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I just love this quote. It says, "Everyone receives the lesson, but very few receive the teaching." Very few receive the teaching. So wisdom is in every single interaction that you have with every person that you meet. It's in everything that you see, everything that you hear. Everything can be wisdom. But if everything's not wisdom to you right now, it's because you're only receiving the lesson. You're not wanting the teaching. You're not asking yourself, what is the teaching behind all of this? So next time something that challenges you in your life happens, like say your partner comes home from work and she's had a crap day and it's just like this negative energy coming, like ask yourself what the teaching is behind this. And I love asking that question. What's behind this? What's behind this? Like something that annoys you or someone that annoys you. Okay, what am I trying to be taught here? What's life trying to teach me? When you start getting into that layer of life, you start living at a much deeper level. Even when the people around you aren't living on this deep level, you can live it. Like, I'll give you a little example here. So we're planning to move down south at the moment and start a retreat business and just show people another way of living, which is essentially what I'm just doing through YouTube. When I told my dad that we're planning on like moving down south, he said, "Why would you want to leave? Like, Perth is the best place ever." And he's very insistent on telling me, where you are now is the best place. Like, there's no better place than here. And he talks bad about the place that we're looking at going. And I'm like, why is he doing this? You know, it was annoying me. And I don't know if you've heard this quote, but what you resist persists. So if it keeps happening in your life, like I spoke a few videos ago, life is a spiral. You keep coming back to the things that you thought you understood just to see a deeper truth. So my dad kept asking me this. He said, "This is a great place. Why would you want to go down there? It's just like, it's not good down there pretty much." He just wanted me to stay here because he just wants to be close to me. That's all it was. And it's unbelievable how simple everything is when you start getting into these layers of life, because wisdom is simple. And yeah, how you get there is you have this positive perspective and you focus on what you can learn and improve. That's a huge one. Focus. A lot of people's lives, I've heard a lot of my mentors speak about this. They say, you're not having a bad day, you're just focused on what is bad. Or you're not in a bad job, you're just focused on what's bad in the job. And maybe it's like you do need to get out of your job. Maybe you haven't had the best day, but you're just focused on it. And when you stop focusing on things, like you've all looked at something, and when you look at something close, like I think this is in cinematic actually, like when you look at my hand, hopefully it goes clear right now on the camera, or my face, but the things behind me are a little blurry. It's because you're focused, the camera's focused on my face. Everything behind me is blurry. It's the same in your life. If you can focus on this good part, and well, my face is great. If you can focus on this good part of your life, the bad things will be blurry. It's not like they're not there, and it's not like you're pretending that they're not there, but it's just like there's so much bad to focus on, but on the other side, there's always two sides to the coin. There is also so much good to focus on. And you wonder why I do these videos, if you've ever wondered why I do these videos and I'm so happy and so energetic and joyous, it's because I love life. Like, I am a big fan of life, and I think you're silly not to be a fan of life. And I think this is a huge thing, is getting into this victim mentality and not being in the victim is how you get to this, to get to feel these feelings and get to think these thoughts and get to stay in this wisdom that you can enter in your life. I want to finish off the video by saying one very important story that I think you'll love, and that is that, as you know, or might not know, I played a lot of tennis when I was younger. And even if you don't follow tennis, I'm sure that you know who, actually I can't remember who said it. It was either Novak Djokovic or Roger Federer, but hopefully you know who one of those people are. But they said, they were asked the question, what separates the top 3 in the world from everyone else. And the answer was that when they win or lose a rally, so when they win or lose a point, it's what they do in the 15 seconds after they win or lose that point. Because what happens? What does everyone else do that plays tennis? And I'll relate this back to your life in a second. But when they hit a bad shot, they focus on the bad. They go into the next rally, and they're still focusing on the bad, and therefore they play bad. And it's just this cycle, this vicious cycle of just going downhill. That's what happens in life, right? When something bad happens, you're really focused on the bad, and then you take it in. Even you go into a good situation, you go into your friends, but then I spoke about in the victim mentality, you start spreading this negativity, this negative thing that you've experienced, you start spreading it. And it's this cyclical nature, this vicious cycle that you get yourself into. They all speak about what it comes down to is their mentality. And they're just better mentally than everyone else. And it's really as simple as that. And here's the crazy thing is that the things that they say are not that complicated. They're very simple. As I said before, wisdom is very simple. And so if one of the top athletes and the top athletes in all sports, and not only sports, but the creative side of life too, and the business side of life, they're all talking about mentality. That's all they talk about when they're like, how did you get there? It's like, I'd switched this in my thinking, and I swapped this in my perspective. I started looking at it this way. I started asking more empowering questions. I started taking ownership, responsibility for my life. I started not just focusing on the problem, but actually like solving the problem and then improving my circumstance. And I think if these people are talking about it, like if Roger Federer is saying what separates the greatest from the rest is the first 15 seconds after they win or lose a rally, I think if he says it, then it's worth every single person focusing on. So when something happens, it's that reaction that you have after it. It's all in those seconds. And when you start changing things around like that, and you start seeking the wisdom that's in that, you will take your first steps and make your way to becoming the victor of life and having this victor mentality, this Vincier mentality to conquer, to overcome. I love all those words. I hope this video has done wonders for your world. I was pretty excited this video, I'm not going to lie. Yes, I hope it's done wonders for your world. As always, guys and girls, be kind, be caring, be courageous, become the victor of your life. And I'll see you in the next video. Lots of love.